Big cities are still obviously dealing with a trifecta of huge challenges, an ongoing pandemic, of course, and the cratering economies that have come along with it, and now facing more than a week of protests that have exposed, in many cases, the raw racial inequities in a criminal justice system. But Baltimore, thankfully, has been largely peaceful. Even though demonstrations are drawing huge crowds, the city does not even have to have imposed a curfew as of yet. And it's a big change from 5 years ago when riots broke out after Freddie Gray died while in police custody. Gray, you may remember, suffered a spinal injury while getting a quote-unquote rough ride in the police van. The officers involved, they faced charges, but all of them were either acquitted or the charges inevitably dropped. I want to bring in our guest. He's former Baltimore Mayor Schmoke. He was the first African-American elected to run the city. He's currently president of the University of Baltimore, and also he's got a history in law enforcement, being both the former district attorney and also former federal prosecutor. Mr. Schmoke, thank you so much. And I really want to draw on a lifetime that you've had in public service, and with different stops along the way. Put yourself back running the city and put it in the context of what we heard Monday night from a president who at one time, I should note, called your city rat-infested. The president, in front of the White House, the People's House, said that he was going to dominate the protesters, threatening potentially vicious dogs. I think he called it ominous weapons, and threatened to put the U.S. military on American soil. What would your reaction have been if he followed through on his threat and actually put soldiers, American soldiers, to police people in Baltimore?
Even though I'm not in office anymore, I was disheartened when I heard the president's comments. I recall past presidents, both Democrat and Republican, facing these kind of challenges who really tried to heal wounds and bring people together and not divide them. I think the cities, and I know Baltimore has benefited from the fact that we've learned lessons from the past. But I think a lot of mayors around the country recognize that it's important for them to raise their profile. If the president has this bully pulpit, this horn that can blast out negative messages, then the mayors and the governors have to raise their profile to make sure that a different type of message is being sent to these demonstrators.
I'm curious, I know you weren't the mayor at the time, but in 2015, when the Freddie Gray incident happened in your city, and now again, after what we saw happen in Minneapolis, especially given not just how well you know your city, but you were, as I said before, a prosecutor. You were at one point a DA, a former federal prosecutor, assistant U.S. attorney. Were you shocked it happened, or were you more shocked in the case of Freddie Gray that it came to light, or also that video captured what happened, unfortunately, to Mr. Lloyd? What shocked you more, the event itself, or that it actually got out into the public view?
No, the event, I mean, the way in which George Floyd died was just shocking. I mean, I have never seen anything like that, particularly with the eyes of that officer looking directly at a camera while his knee was pressing down on the man's neck. I mean, that is just shocking. We had, when I was mayor, we had periodic incidents of excessive force, but it did not appear systemic. And so I didn't face the kind of challenges that the mayor faced in 2015 with the death of Freddie Gray, and that all cities are facing now in light of the death of Mr. Floyd. So I think in some respects, the mayors probably didn't anticipate the scale of the demonstrations that would occur.
I'm curious, when you left the mayoralty, and I mentioned before, you saw the insides of the criminal justice system when you were both prosecutor and a district attorney. It strikes me there's an opportunity here. There's a captive American public. Everybody saw the video. I don't know of anyone who thought what happened was acceptable. And I noticed that mayors in real time called it murder. Even police commissioners and chiefs called it murder, what they saw. We've seen some law enforcement, I'm sure some of it, to ameliorate the public, but some, I believe it, either taking a knee or embracing the protesters and appreciating why. To that end, if there is an opportunity, can you put your finger on a couple tangible things, whether it be the qualified immunity or the lack of transparency in terms of what's in officers' jackets, in terms of disciplinary? What would make a tangible difference so that if I'm a person of color, I think that when this thing's all said and done and the protests end, that it is different now going forward?
Yeah. Well, one thing, it would be good if communities are able to have meaningful conversations, particularly with not just the police leadership, but police union leadership. This is an opportunity for that to occur, for some kind of really a positive interaction between the community and police unions. Now, we have an opportunity in Baltimore, kind of a unique opportunity. The Police Academy and Training Center is actually on our campus, from the campus of the University of Baltimore. And we're hoping that we can have a good collaboration with them so that when they leave, they go out into our communities with the spirit of that they're going to operate under the spirit of service, not the spirit of adventure. And that's really what we would like to achieve with this collaboration.
Well, let me finally, if I could, take you to your college campus. And, you know, as a parent myself, it's a surreal time for these kids, including for graduating seniors. A question on commencement. Given the climate that we're in right now, would you want President Trump to deliver the commencement at your college, given the division, some would even argue, that he certainly has sown in this country? Would you want him in front of your student body?
Unfortunately, I would not at this time. A couple of years ago, at the beginning of this administration, I actually invited his Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, to deliver a graduation address for our mid-year, our December graduation. Now, you can imagine that was somewhat controversial. Some students disagreed, some faculty, but I just felt that it's important to hear all voices, that we are a place where we should welcome debate. But at this particular time, with the comments that the president recently made, I would be very uncomfortable with inviting him, though others from his administration possibly, but I would not extend that invitation to him.
Well, I wish you the best and your student body as well here in these interesting times. I appreciate you making some time for us, though. Thank you so much.
Richard, I appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll be right back to wrap things up.